Hey, Sketch.
Hey, Tay, I want to ask you, what's your favorite foreshadowing moment in anime?
Mine would be in One Piece. Not only does this take thousands of chapters to happen, but it has multiple points of setup. So Sanji defeats, with Luffy's help and Zoro's helps, defeats Crocodile's crew or Crocodile's team, right? I forgot what they were called. But all the males on the team go by numbers, and the lower your number, the more powerful you are. So you have number one, number two, number three, right? So Crocodile's calling in to check on number three, four, five, one of the people, and Sanji answers, and he goes, "Hey, this is Mr. Prince." And then Crocodile's like, "Hey, what happened to Mr. A?" Right? And this scene is just played for laughs at first. Later, we see a wanted poster for Sanji, and unlike everyone else's wanted posters that say dead or alive, Sanji says alive only. Right? A little suspicious, but you just tack it on as something weird, something quirky that the universe is doing. But then here comes the big surprise. Sanji's family are rulers of a country. They want Sanji back, not because they love him, because they hate him and need somebody to marry off to Big Mom's family to become one big group with Big Mom, to take advantage of her power currently as their kingdom is crumbling. That is why Sanji had an only alive, and he actually is a prince. Mr. Prince, who would have guessed it, was a prince. What about your favorite foreshadowing scene?
I'm going to pick Code Geass. Now, forgive me if I skip a few plot beats because it's been a while since I've watched Code Geass, 5-10 years or so. Anyway, so in Season 2 of Code Geass, we are introduced to an elite team of nightmare pilots. One of them is a young girl who's constantly keeping a journal in her phone that she's updating each and every single day. Now, later she mentions that, she doesn't really trust her own memory because she reads her own journal and she doesn't remember doing a lot of things. Anyway, later it gets a little weird. I forget how this whole situation happens. But at one point, Lelouch is confronting his father in this weird Geass realm, and this young girl pops up again. And it's revealed why gaps of her memory is missing is because apparently Lelouch's mother has been controlling this chick this entire time and has been pulling the strings behind multiple events in Lelouch's life, including the attempted assassination of his sister.
Dang, that's crazy. You guys should hit that share button, share us with other people to make sure that your memories line up and that you can confirm that it's you in control.
It has to be our video as well. Only way. Anyway, so speaking of foreshadowing, this episode has a pretty good foreshadowing moment that I'll save for later. I foreshadowed the foreshadowing.
It's a pretty good foreshadow if you wait for it.
So let's set the story up. So our episode starts off with another flashback about the underworld. Now we learned that in the underworld was used to be ruled by a god named King Saturn. That King Saturn had 3 sons, which is the underworld princes and king that we know of. We know that King Saturn was researching how to become immortal, because in a previous episode, King Boss mentions that the giants and gods are dying out, so King Saturn wants to avoid that. But in his research, I guess King Saturn became a very cruel man, and he ended up becoming defeated by his three sons, Despa, Daisha, and Ouken. But during his defeat, Ouken discovers his powers that he inherited from his father, which was immortality. While Despa inherited his superpowers, Daisha inherited his superpowers, Ouken inherited King Saturn's immortality. Now, you might be asking, what did he inherit, or what did Despa inherit from King Saturn?
His humanity. Not much, but it's there.
Nothing. Inherited absolutely nothing from Despa. Oh boy. Anyway, so you get through that, then we cut back to Domas and Rokuro to go destroy the Underworld Gate. And what is the gate, Tay?
The Underworld Gate is a Shadow Clan banner used as a disguise to besmirch the Shadow Clan again. And then Damas makes this unique little line of world building where he says the Shadow Clan, despite being trialed with all these negative things, from what he heard, is a pure-hearted clan. This man never even heard of Moranjo. Who told him about the Shadow Clan? This man is sheltered like none other. I don't see the point of this world building after we've already had an established built world that the Shadow Clan are used for one thing and one thing only, and it's killing, and that Kage was kind of changed. But I do like the fact that we get to learn that Kage is now the lone survivor, supposedly. You
Yeah,
can't trust what Dama says.
it's weird that Damos has this comic because Bebin apparently knew about the Shadow Clan, and here apparently he heard the exact opposite of what Domas heard.
So, another interesting thing is we got power scaling now. You want to talk about that?
Oh boy, so apparently Apis has an inbuilt scouter, and when he scanned Bojji's power level, it was over 9,000. So the actual explanation is for this is that everyone can sense Bojji's now improved self-confidence, his newfound strength, and it comes off as this terrifying presence that everyone is just scared of, just seeing Bojji or seeing Bojji with his sword.
Whenever Bojji is about to fight or isn't put into a conflict, he has this overwhelming presence.
I gotta say, look, his power level is just over 9,000. What do I gotta say?
And this leads us to somebody else with a very high power level, Bojji's natural enemy, Ouken. While he's running away from Desmond the captain, he grabs his broken sword and puts it in his sheath. And we're like, oh, whatever, he grabbed a broken sword and ran. He was being controlled by Miranjo, so it's just what it is. But then by the time he gets to Miranjo, he pulls out and the sword's completely repaired. Interesting. Nice little foreshadow for what's gonna happen, but it shows us that he is able to repair his sword somehow. But then this leads into the Miranjo scene. What does Miranjo say to the bandits?
Oh boy, so Miranjo still has no real interest in actually controlling the bandits. She still says, oh hey, you're free to do whatever you want, so long as you don't hurt me. Then the bandit, I think his name is Zuko, right? Zuko thrives, oh, what if I try to kill you anyway? There's nothing you can do to stop me. Then she finally says, oh, you're here. And then they realize, oh, Ouken, are you siding with Miranjo? Nope. Miranjo is now controlling, from her words, the simple-minded are very easily to control. And then she's 6 on Zuko.
Zuko, Red the Copperhead, and Black the Brunette. And
Where is Red the Copperhead? No, I think
right there, right behind Black the Brunette. He blends into the background, never says anything. Another cool fact, whenever she said that she can control the simple-minded creatures, it then later foreshadows her controlling a mouse to save Apis using Healing's help, showing that Ouken's mental state is equivalent to that of a rat. But this goes on to our next scene, which I thought was really cool, as we finally learn how Ouken freezes people in place.
So we cut to the scene where Bojji is squaring off against Ouken, and he does the forward hand thrust that he does to freeze people. And he does it, and Bojji dodges them repeatedly. He dodges,
which is super strange because everyone else that we've seen froze in place.
Until Bojji then thrusts his sword forward, and he hits a rock. And it turns out Ouken has just been throwing small rocks this entire time.
But this is an amazing world building moment, and this explains how Bojji's training went so fast, at least in my mind. Ouken, or his brother, Despa, knew about pressure points a long time ago, took years practicing it, that now Ouken, the zombie immortal, is able to use it with half a brain, throw rock at people's pressure point, freeze them into place, similar to how Bojji takes out an whole opponent. Ouken takes out body parts from moving, he stuns them into place. Bojji does similar things, and I'm like, oh, so Despa showed Ouken, and he also showed Bojji, right? This is why Bojji's training is so fast, and that's why Despa seemed to have readily available answers. But then the next thing we see is Bojji now fighting back. He breaks Ouken's sword. And Freddy, what happens to Ouken's sword?
Oh, Ouken then oozes his blood out from his hand into the sword and collects the shattered pieces of his sword and forcibly joins them together with his black ooze thing.
And again, showing another foreshadow that we saw. Ouken can repair his sword, and then it's shown again in live action. It's like, oh, so he can repair his sword, but how? We're shown little things beforehand, before they happen, so we're not surprised. We're actually excited about what's happening. But this leads us to a couple of things that I'm just curious about, right? During the fight, Miranjo is giving Kage advice to give to Bojji. Why do you think Miranjo is giving Bojji advice?
So, Miranjo notes to Kage, oh, you were the one who made Bojji believe in himself. Now, we know that Miranjo played a very similar role to Apis in this regard, but we also get a flashback towards Miranjo's past with her mother. Now, it isn't really explained why, but there's something about Kage's encouragement of Bojji that reminds Miranjo's mother.
I think it's what Kage said that reminded her of her mother.
Mm.
And she said Bojji is willing to. Kage said Bojji is willing to help anyone and everyone. And then she gets a flashback of her mother. And I think that shows Miranjo thinking about her mom in a similar vein. Well, you didn't tell me why she gave Kage advice.
We still don't know why. Fuck, what was I gonna say? So, Miranjo herself doesn't really know why she's giving advice to Kage, but it might lead towards maybe a change of heart for Miranjo. What do you think?
That change of heart idea seems to be a good one because we see Daida and a puppet child Miranjo next to him that he's, I guess, comforting. Now, I don't know if these two Miranjos are connected. Is the piece of Miranjo that's with Daida also connected to the mirror Miranjo? Or are they two separate entities?
That's a pretty good idea. I didn't really put that together when we saw the episode. I just thought it was a really random update on.
Daida was doing? It could be. It could just be a random update, but I thought that was the connection. When she said, why am I doing this? This is probably why. But it could be something else. She could just pity Bojji.
So, fuck. We're gonna have to edit so much shit out. Anyway, so speaking of Miranjo and the things she does, so we know that the Shadow Clan was annihilated in episode 1 or 2, and then we see the Underworld Gate being created from a Shadow Clan banner. Do you think there's a connection between Miranjo and the Shadow Clan? Do you think Miranjo orchestrated the slaughter of the Shadow Clan?
Thematically, mirrors don't like shadows. Mirrors reflect light, which the Shadow Clan seems to not get burned by, but it makes their biggest weakness as being in bright light in bright areas. But I don't know. I don't think Miranjo has not shown any ill will towards Kage to say that she is opposed to the Shadow Clan. But thematically, it would make sense.
It could just be another tool that she can use now. Because with that Shadow Clan banner, now she has access to the Underworld, right?
She did until they burnt it.
Well, but point being, she needed to destroy the Shadow Clan to get, I guess, access to this banner to create the Underworld portal.
Use them to create the portal. What do you think about Bojji's super tech? Do you think it will be good enough to be Ouken? His super technique being hitting all the vital points?
So, we know that from Despa, that Ouken is a natural enemy to Bojji. But do we really know how strong Bojji is with this technique? We see him shatter rocks, we see him shatter swords, boulders, hammers, but it's always with a single thrust. Do you think he'll go with a million sap type thing, hit all of his pressure points at once?
It would seem like something like that would happen. I remember the last episode I said the reason Bojji can't beat him is because Bojji's not willing to hit that final blow, and even if he hits that final blow, he can't kill Ouken. But I'm thinking the opposite might actually happen. Now that Bojji's found out he's immortal,
might as well just go all out. I can't kill him either way.
No, it's like maybe he can stun him a little bit. But this man also breaks his own joints and fixes himself up and continues on the fight.
So, how will Ouken go down? Will it come down to a third party? Will it come down to another bolt of lightning from Daisha? Or will our Lord and Savior come by, Despa?
So we're asking, will Despa do anything?
Will Despa defeat?
Well, we know he has no powers, as now confirmed. His best skill is studying. It's not looking good for our boy Despa, but I'll be on his side. I'll take him on the ring, and I'm gonna say Despa's gonna use the power of love, of money. Somehow.
Money.
Somehow he's gonna figure out how to use the power of love of money to stop him.
He just pays Ouken to go away.
Maybe. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like something Despa would do is give money away.
Oh, man.
I think he'll ask Ouken to pay him to go away.
Alright.
There might be a fair chance of that happening.
Who knows?
Well, thanks for listening. I hope you guys have a good day.
Laters.